Clash of Clans Podcast, OG, episode 47. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am your host, Scotty 827, joined live in studio by the ghostly fly-by-night master of disaster, Ghostnite. Welcome to the podcast again, Mr. Ghostnite.
Thank you.
What
It was a
better
pleasure to be back.
and what better time to do a podcast than after dark so that the ghosts can come out and play, I say.
Always.
So, welcome back. There's a lot to catch up on since you were here last. I could probably let you introduce yourself a little bit now, how you would like introduce yourself since that time, because we haven't talked since summer, right? I think it was like July.
I want to say it was right around July, maybe August. I'm not exactly sure. I know it's been a good handful of months.
And it was one of those episodes that started me in a spin, for sure, because I started working on my base, like tweaking it after that.
Yeah.
And it was a TH15, I think, at the time. I'm still using the same base, but with all the 17 stuff. But it's still working.
I would say if it's still working, then you're doing a good job.
Yeah, because we're sitting there talking about these things, and I'm like, maybe I could do this, or this. The especially the left-handed
Start
side.
trapping for the right-handed people.
Yeah. So it's like now. So okay, this is what's happening, and so we had to just get into the podcast because we couldn't shut up before we started. The trick was, he told us last time that a lot of people trap for right-handed people on the right side of the base.
Yep.
So now, without fail, I look at the bottom to the left. Right?
Yep. I would say pretty
left
common.
hand.
Like, kind of like if you look at the base as a clock, how a lot of us see it.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
You know, you have 12 at the top.
Yep.
Then 3, 6, and 9. And yeah, that 6 o'clock side right there, very bottom. A lot of people, right-handed users, will use it because, you know, majority of the population is right-handed.
And we can't talk about first base. So now I don't even like that side. Ghostnite said that. So, do you want to talk about where you're at right now in the game, where you're hanging out these days?
Yeah, I mean, not too much has changed from last episode of where I'm hanging out. I mean, still hanging out with, you know, the Crystal Join crowd. One big major change that has happened was so the FTB team, we left World Base Building, so we no longer test for them. Had to depart our ways. You know, nothing bad or anything. We just felt it wasn't benefiting us as much for our time commitment into the game. You know,
Yeah.
I think I briefly mentioned in the last pod we were tons of hours.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to allocate our time somewhere else.
Yeah, how big that world is. Like, that was really eye-opening.
I would say by the time you think about it, you know, 2 people, Daniel and I, we were testing every single base that was coming through that, as far as like ESL and TWL bases, we were testing every single one. And so if someone got a base, we see that.
You became an expert.
I wouldn't say
seasoned,
expert, but
very seasoned. Very seasoned.
We got used to just being like able to look at the base and automatically like reject. Like, it ain't gonna work.
You could see it that quick, huh?
Yeah, I would say some of them, especially like with the Root Rider meta 16 or with Fireball Super, which was really big. We'd be able to just look at the base and be like, I'd land a fireball there, and the base, because the pathing's just easy.
That's when I look at your streams, I get quiet because I'm like, you make it look calm,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so you must not experience like chaos and
I do at times. Don't let my streams fool you. I mean, that is one of the things. Like when Fatal recruited me to the esports team, he did mention to me like he's just like, you just don't panic very often, and I was like, yeah, it's just kind of got to go with the flow, got to stay calm, keep thinking, think on the fly, and just
I'm not
adjust.
I'm not
Like,
sure I breathe the entire time. Really, I think I
and
wake
then
up afterwards and look back at the replay.
so like I do things a little bit different from when I first started comp to now. So I used to get nervous before my hits.
Did
My
you?
hands would get really like clammy, get
Yeah.
the hand sweats, and
Mm-hmm.
then I would go and I would rub them on my pants right before my hit,
Then you were
dry
good to
them up
go.
for a second.
See,
Yeah, and then
mine are doing that right now just
just
as you're
kind of
talking about it.
take a deep breath before you hit
My
attack and
iPad's slipping
go.
out of my hands as I'm just standing there right
Mhm.
beforehand.
Just like streaming, the hardest part is hitting live. You
How
just got to
was
click
that the
the
first
button.
time you did it?
Ah, took a second.
Did it?
Oh yeah, it took them, a couple minutes to be like, okay,
So what
there's a
is the
bunch of
calm
people.
brought you? When did you become like more confident with that?
Uh, I mean, just over time, where you're just like, I have when I do go live, not very super often. I have like the regulars in there, so it's like Fatal comes in there, Carl will come in, so it's pretty much just like, I'm just chatting with all the guys. Just I can't hear them. I just have to.
So it gets better because I just said tonight like we're gonna have to invest in some House of L blood pressure monitors for these wars because it's because going in I'm still getting pretty nervous. I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident, but so do you think attacking on streams making you better too? The
A
pressure?
little bit. So one thing I noticed, since I haven't streamed really at 17 very much, just because I've been busy with life stuff like that. But at 16, there was a like small niche I kind of like doing streaming, and I think it helped me a little bit, not super much. It is. I've always learned like something really well if you can teach someone else how to do.
Yeah.
If you can teach someone else how to do the attack, the attack, the ins and outs of it. So while I was attacking on stream, especially doing like my Town Hall 15 I have right now, I'm doing like Queen Charge Lalo. So that total count, I've only ever played Queen Charge Lalo since I've been able. And you just go and you explain the attack as you're doing it, and of like why you're putting things there, so the viewers can follow along with you, and it might help one or two people that pop in.
Well, it does help me because when I realize you're not supposed to be panicking,
Yeah,
then I go, okay, wait, it gets better. I'm not sure how
I was
much
saying,
longer my heart's gonna be able to take it.
and just sitting there and being able to like talk, because you're not just talking to the people and telling them, kind of talking to yourself as well,
Yeah.
to kind of stay calm and just be like, okay, I just need to do this. So then, you just do it.
So with the base building, then what point did you get to where you're just like IDing it? Like, what is there something you learned? Because this is one of my questions tonight. Is there something you learned that was like the turning point, maybe I asked you this the last time too, but like, is there something that just clicked or like one trick that kind of started it?
Like started getting me into like building bases,
Yeah,
or
or yeah, like um I don't know, I guess I'm like, I guess we talked about this before, but like um kind of like one of those big first lessons, right? Cuz like I was like thinking about some of them with like the timing thing with me, like seeing like one
and
attack where I was like, "Oh man, I get that now." Um how about you? Is there anything like that for you?
kind of, I mean, it's kind of just a little bit of the process of building a base, as I'm still in the beginning stages of trying to establish myself as a builder, and that you just kind of have to think of, hey, I want to build this space to defend Root Riders because Root Riders are part of the meta. So we know that Root Riders path off into the defenses, so we need to chain defenses in a certain way that maybe it's not going to allow to the core. Kind of like as you see right now in Legends, there's a lot of the center ring
Yeah.
bases that have the Invis and Rage there. It's the same idea of that. You have the ring outside that's supposed to path off, whereas doing all your damage. Right?
And so are you thinking ahead when you're seeing those like in the wild or in like or you're in Legend, you're doing Legend League
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And so when you're seeing even just that now, I guess is kind of a tangent question. Like, are you going, people are figuring this out, where are they going next? Or
Uh,
how are you thinking about when you're out like hitting in Legend Leagues, like what are you thinking?
I mean, so those bases, a lot of them, I just think, okay, we're RC charging here and then siege in that here, so then I force them into the core,
Yeah.
or say, because I just look at pathing for the defenses and then just be like, okay, I can force my queen and siege barracks here, cut those defenses, and RC the other side.
But are you looking at it now going, do you see your bases first of all? Probably.
I don't see as many as mine because I'm up in higher legends right now. I don't really build for high legends because it's super competitive right now, and it's super hard to defend still.
And so do you look at like what the new bases are looking like and go, all right, what's going to be the next phase? Or are you just kind of waiting to hear like the nerfs and the buffs?
Yeah, I would say we kind of wait to see what the nerfs and the buffs are. What are the communities kind of leading towards? Of
Yeah.
like, what are people starting to use for like meta? Because like my main focus for building, I tend to is for like the comp scene and CWL. A little bit, it has a different meta as far as attacks than Legends stuff. Because Legends, you can pretty much count on like at least like the higher Legends, they're gonna have a giant arrow, stuff like that.
And then so as a teacher, right? Like learning it as the base, like as a teacher, how do you look at the bases that you're seeing in comp wars or whatever differently than you did before?
Um, I mean, I guess I'm not looking at them too much different. I mean, it's just
Do you see it as
still,
like a trend? More like trendy or
yeah. I would say you can start seeing like the trends with the bases of okay, they'll either have the rage invis in the center, or they're gonna have double rages or the double invises. Even like 17, at least I haven't seen very many poison spell tower bases. So it's
yeah, I
like I
haven't
know it's gonna
either.
be one of the other because they're trying to counter the roots pretty much right now, and they're trying to counter the RC walk. So you can kind of see on some of the new 17 bases, they have like a bubble around kind of like your bigger defenses because they're trying to prevent the RC walks for her pathing.
So do you look at that and go, well, now there's opportunity there because everybody's planning for.
A little bit. So they can't always cover every compartment to stop the walks in. You kind of I take the 30 seconds or whatever it is and kind of look at it and be like, okay, if I can get my RC into here, and if I have to maybe throw out one invis in order to like invis a couple defenses, and instead of her going there where she's supposed to be going for the base design, she'll go inside the core, and I can at least pop a rage tower or something. Which end of the day, that's huge.
Are you working on like a ghost night plan for the entire 25? Are you seeing things out now? Or
I
what
mean,
kind of like, can you see a little bit out like where you anticipate meta going? Or I'm just wondering like what.
right now, as far as like this next update where we're leading, we'll readjust from after the update comes out, kind of for balance changes here. But I mean, like we're already predicting that Root Riders are still going to be in the meta, even with like the Earthquake boot, because we're predicting that the Snake Gauntlet or Snake Ring or whatever it's called.
Bracelet or is it? What
Yeah,
is it?
bracelet. It's a bracelet. Yeah,
Okay.
my bad. Yeah, so the
Okay.
Snake Bracelet is not going to be as relevant as even with the nerfs. It's still going to be Spiky Ball, Earthquake boots that we're going to be seeing.
You don't think the king on the outside with like the vamp stash and the snake charm will like do well? I
It
don't know why I
might. I
feel
mean,
like
I haven't
that's
done.
just kind of what they're like handing over, but
Yeah, it might be good for maybe possibly like your dragon's attacks, but then again, you have the minion prince now, and a lot of people are dropping the king for the prince for those attacks.
imagine how that king feels right now, huh?
Yeah, just hey,
There's
he's
a
kind of.
new, younger, handsomer.
Although I mean, I have found like some niche uses for the king, as far as like since so many people are using the minion for dragons stuff, you can kind of. I run a little bit old school dragons. I don't run them all the mass invis. It's not my cup of tea as far as running that. So like sometimes they'll have like that big compartment of just ton of like bases or a bunch of defenses and stuff clumped together. And if I can just use one wall breaker and just gauntlet and rage file and just smash that and just sui dive them right there.
What is that your favorite then? Like the gauntlet? Or is that what you're using mostly? Or
No. So mainly I've been doing Root
you're
Riders still.
customizing it.
Or Sam, yeah. It's
See,
pretty much, yeah. When I come across those spaces, I custom.
I'm starting to move into that where I can like just a little bit, tiny
Yep.
bit. I don't usually, but I'm starting to adjust it because things are in that. So when you guys, so you were leaving World Base Building, or what were you doing? You thought, okay, I'm gonna start doing my own thing, and
So we pretty much left because it was just, like I said, it was too much time commitment for us. We were putting in tons of hours, and then what we were getting back out of it was not enough for us to be like, okay, it's worth all of this time that it's mandatory for us to do. So then we told him we were leaving. We gave him a month notice, try to work with him as best as we could. And then from there, I was just like, hey, is it cool if I stay inside the internal server so I can talk to some of the other base builders and try to learn base building? Because it was something that kind of spiked my interest. Something
yeah,
if I wanted to.
your relationships.
Yeah, relationships, doing networking, rather build the bridges than burn them down.
Yeah.
So just kind of going from there, and I've got to talk to some of the other builders, and they've taught me some. They're obviously all the builders have like their own unique designs, stuff like that they run. End of the day, I mean, most of them are willing to help you as long as you're like, what do you think? What can I do better?
Yeah. Do you see like as you're attacking, like can you identify people's like style?
Uh, Not very much because a lot of it just matters on the builder. As far as like, if they just prefer building diamond bases versus box bases, or
Yeah.
then you have like some that are like strict. They only build ESL style bases, or they're a straight Legends builder.
And so you're doing your own little thing right now, right?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing my own little thing. Every once in a while I'll throw a Legends base in there, just kind of like mid Legends, try to guarantee it up to, 57-ish, 56, depending on how the season's going as far as like trophies. But the middle trophy range for the season, normally I'll guarantee the base up to there to defend so much. Other than that, I do a lot of like ESL builds because that's a completely separate meta, like I said. And then obviously CWL, I try to build for just your main attacks, Root Riders, Dragon Spam.
What kind of base do you like to build then?
I tend
Do you have a
to.
preference?
I tend to weigh a little bit more heavy on ESL and CWL bases over the ledge spaces.
Do you like to
Because
do like,
they're kind of the same, ESL and CWL.
and then do you like any particular style, like like a
Eh, I kind of tend to do a little bit more of like your kind of your boxier bases, I guess.
so you are gonna build a base.
Eh,
The canvas is blank. It is all right there. Where do you start? Like, do you go,
so a lot of times, and partly where that's partly where right now I'm kind of trying to branch out and get a little bit more help from top tier builders, getting a little coaching from them to kind of make unique designs of my own. But one thing I was told to start or when I was starting to build and that is kind of look at other bases and find a compartment like I really like this center compartment on this base and then branch off.
okay, so you don't really just like start fresh, probably.
Yeah,
Do
not
you,
100% time do you. Sometimes you do, and
it'd be
sometimes
really hard.
you'll have a good idea. Yeah, it's a lot harder. So kind of like
I've tried it.
we were talking
I've
for
never
like
finished it many, many times.
yeah, I say it's kind of like we were talking for cases. You see a lot of those Invis Rage Tower combo, and it's pretty much mainly all the same. They're just changing the outsides.
When you are starting to figure it out, are you going, what did I see today? Or do you start with the walls? Do you start like do you place down do you just switch up one big part to kind of
So everyone has a little bit different starting method to it. It's what each builder kind of prefers. Uh, so like Fatal, he helps build the packs with me. Me and him kind of do like a team effort. Me and him were just talking about this actually today. He likes to build all of his walls first and then fill it in and tweak the walls a little bit more from there, and then just keep tweaking as he's going. Me, I like to build my center compartment and then branch off, build one compartment, and then build the same compartment on the other side because I build uh, symmetrical
center?
bases. Yeah.
So he must so he must be seeing it like, oh, I'm putting this here and this here down the I'm wondering what the
A little
lens
bit.
is.
So kind of like how he told me, he kind of is doing a little bit of the same thing of he's looking at other base designs that work and are working really well. He'll copy the walls of it and then tweak the walls from there so it's not the same base and then fill it in and then tweak it a little bit again.
Do you guys ever make a base that either one of you can hit, can't 3-star?
No. I mean,
No. You don't have like
uh,
one secret compartment in your war map that's like, this is the base that has never
no,
been. I won't show it to anybody. Well,
no, sadly. I mean, I've had some really good bases that's got some really good defense. I mean,
do you work on your own secret one that's like, this is when this one comes out? Say
I
goodbye,
mean,
everybody.
not really. I mean, there's always some type of attack that's going to crash the base. I mean,
Okay.
you're targeting one army. It's hard to defend everything. I mean, impossible.
That's just how I feel every time I sit down to adjust things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you know what? I might
Yeah,
have this. I might have this here. And then I get
someone
about
just
five
comes in
minutes.
with dragons that just wipes it.
No, I get about 5 minutes into it and I go, yeah, that's not gonna work at all.
Yeah,
And then my dreams are dashed.
crushed.
So what do you think most people are missing? Like even just in like either when they're doing the bases or what do you think like where do you see some easy points even on like what we're hitting or what you're hitting?
I
Anything
mean,
like that? I guess if that makes sense.
I still think the biggest weaknesses right now in the bases are I think people are still trying to figure out 100% how to defend this RC charges, especially with, I mean, in Legends, we see it a little bit. Comp, we see it a little bit. In there, CWL, we see it. We've seen it this week of, that big mass invis with dragons. Like, it just wrecks.
Do you,
And it's hard to stop, someone that when they have, 9 invises. How do you kill this RC so you can stop her from doing this or make her go wonky so
do
that
you
way
hate it?
they...
Do you hate it as a base builder?
Yeah, it's frustrating because it's just like, I have this compartment set here. Okay, I need to build something so the RC will path around it because other than that, it's like, okay, I know she's going to take out that whole...
Do you think that the update is going to change? So, like with the new update, the invis is getting shorter, right?
Only
And
by a quarter of...
and her ability is being reduced. The electro boots ability
The
nerfed a little bit.
the electric boots nerf, I don't think that's going to do a thing for it.
I don't think so. Like I said,
It might increase, small amount of time fails just because aura damage.
so
But
me. That'll be me.
very,
That is time failing.
very, very slim. At the end of the day, I think. The invis shortening, I feel like, was a little bit in the right direction. But talking to some other people, they also think like her aura should be shrunken down. So another thing I started building and kind of thought of an idea that hopefully, Supercell would add to the game.
Ooh.
I've been trying
We
to,
love that here at the podcast.
I told Cool Rick about it from the Reddit Talks Clash, pod, and he's like, oh, no, sounds like a good idea. They have something where I could forward this to. I just still have to sit down. Life's been busy. Sit down, write it up, what I think, and so he can maybe submit it and see where it could go. So the RC boots kills the skeleton. So you have nothing that can distract the RC or trap her, counting on killing her fox in order to kind of shorten up her ability range of getting value. So I was like, okay, we need a trap or some sort that ain't going to be broken to where it's going to kill a bunch of other armies or anything, but something specifically to maybe distract the RC. So I was like, what if, going off of the skeleton's idea, since she just zaps them out completely instantly, maybe instead of just having the normal skeleton traps, they add 1 or 2 big boy traps, where it gives a big boy skeleton, and the level of the trap can, as the level of the trap increases, it increases with the level of the big boy, as if like the levels of the witch spawned in the big boy.
That would be a really interesting twist, wouldn't it?
So that way the RC boots wouldn't instantly zap the big boy and kill him. It would tie up the RC a little bit, where you're going to have to invis over to get the aggro off, and then hope that the RC is not going to pass with the big boy afterwards. It's kind of just an initial distraction. They might have to burn it in.
How much damage does he do compared to Cocaine Bear?
This is a good question. I mean, I would have to look that up here real quick.
I was just wondering because is it like similar? I mean, is he? I haven't really used this. I'm just wondering because I've still been putting a druid in my clan castle for Legend League, and it kind of wrecks people. And so I think that would be an awesome idea to have something that's gonna hold up or last longer too, as a troop in the CC, because then you've got.
Yeah, so I got the stats for Big Boy here. He has 4,100 hit points and 350 damage. So I believe he is more tanky than.
Yeah, probably after the nerf. thought the cocaine bears were a little bit higher, but maybe after the nerf that happened.
No, so the cocaine bears are 2,200 hit points and 180 DPS.
Didn't they used to be like 4,400, didn't they? Or
I
42?
believe so.
Yeah.
They were a little bit more tankier.
That would really make that a that would
Yeah,
really mess up some things.
I was trying to keep with the thing. I mean, they could always, bring back the damage on them, or if they needed to, or something. But I was like, okay, it's nothing like writer spam or something could not take care of, because you have your Valks coming in. They're a single attack, single target. So the most is going to promote for all these other armies or dragons. If for some reason it gets popped by a ground troop, you're going to just promote time fails.
That's where I exist these days. Like yesterday was 1 to 3% most of my legends attacks, but I've still got my heroes to come up a little bit. So
I was like, even if they only add maybe just one, so we could just bait one entry. We have this base and you see people attack it a couple times. RC's coming from 6 o'clock compartment pretty often, so we're going to trap that compartment with the big boy.
it would add that. That'll be fine. That should be fine. That would add that unpredictability, because I do notice that, like, I was in my CWL attacks, or like I went into like I've been looking at some of these bases and thinking, okay, I should come at it from here, I should come at it from here, I should come at it from here. And then I think, why not just go for the TH with the RC drop? Because that's usually when I fail. And sometimes it just ends up being so easy, so that maybe a trap like that would defend against that too. It seems a little spread out sometimes.
Yeah. I feel like it would even up the ballpark a little bit. Biggest part is, getting it so the casuals and that are being like, hey, this would be a good idea as well. And again, the backing support of it, because, biggest thing, like we talked about last time, I believe, is casuals and the competitive players want two different.
And how do you feel? Do you feel like it's a pretty good balance right now?
It's decent balance. I still think there's some pretty good quality of life changes that need to happen.
Like,
So, biggest thing is like legends. I seen on X, and I'm in pretty much full support of it. So when trading in legends, at least high legends is a really big thing, and obviously breaks TOS, stuff like that. Don't recommend doing it. Best way to get banned. But
like, how high are you talking about? Like, when do you think
this
that
goes
starts?
pretty
Like,
much,
majority.
Win trading pretty much really hurts, top 200, I would say,
okay.
sure. Or even, maybe top 1K.
I'm far from
start
that
getting
territory.
into there.
Okay.
It's pretty much kind of when you start getting into the range of, okay, most of the people you're versing are professional players or people that may not play professionally, but they're going they do the legends for a living.
Yeah.
You get past that certain mark and you're expecting to get 320 every day, and you're hoping that you're not.
I just had a heart attack just thinking about that.
Hey, you're not going to have 320 for that day, so you're hoping for a miss in order to go positive. And so you also need to go 320 in order to
stay the same. So, do you have any recommendations for how you would change that, or like what you would like to see?
Yeah. So what was proposed by what I seen on X is that you need to remove the sceneries, remove obstacles. So like your little decorations have on bases, make it completely so you cannot see the name or clan of the person you're attacking. So it's pretty much this blank sheet and everything, and then so you have no idea who you're attacking or anything. They couldn't be like, oh, I'll have this decoration over in this corner or something.
I
And
think
then you can throw in my base for that.
I think you'd almost have to like put in there too, like different walls can't be. They'll
Mm-hmm.
have to be connected.
Uh,
Because then, like, people on a corner
it'd be
could just
really
put,
hard for
like,
like base building because you sometimes have
oh,
those gray
yeah.
walls.
But no, I mean, like, any of the same type have to be connected. So, like, you couldn't do every other one, like, on a corner. So you would have, like, a level, you'd have, you could have a code on the corner of your wall by,
Mm,
like, do you
kind
know
of
what I'm
like
saying?
a
You'd
little
have,
bit.
like, level 15 wall, level 16 wall, level 15 wall, level 16 wall to mark
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit more difficult to do,
Well,
I
maybe
guess.
I just gave people an idea. I shouldn't have done that.
We start seeing that, we're gonna start blaming you,
Mm-hmm.
Liam.
Wasn't me.
But yeah, I mean, those are some things that we might have to deal with down the road. But getting this initial push out of that, I think would benefit a lot and just make it a little bit harder to win trade. And then I'm also super big in full support of hard mode and Legends.
Ooh.
Because to me, what Legends is you know, you know, exactly as the name says, it's Legends.
It
Like
is a fight
you
for
need to be
glory.
top. Or say it's a fight, as you just said, a fight for glory. You're a top player, and you're fighting for the number one rank. Like if you really want to consider yourself the best or better than other people, you need to be competing in hard mode because that's how the highest competition.
And you'd start it at Legends. Everybody gets it. It would really even out the equipment a lot, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. They're saying, you know, I would still start it at the 5,000 trophy. Like if you should be there, you'll be in there. Like, and if even if you're not a great player, you should be able to still. I mean, those people in the lower, it'll still be kind of like it is now. You'll still have some lower people in the lower part
Yeah.
of. They're not great attackers. They might not have a great base either. So it might even out a little bit. You might not see as many as the lower town halls in there because it'd be really hard to attack. But end of the day, like you run across those as like Town Hall 17, like that's a free triple. Like the other day, doing going through attacking, and I found a Town Hall 11, and I was just like, "What is
In
this?" Like,
Legends?
yeah, in Legends, and I was just like, "Well, it's my lucky day," so I just wiped the whole base with just heroes.
Like, what trophy level would that be? Probably what you were at.
It was like the second or third day of Legends after reset.
Okay. You do
Either
see
way,
some people
I was
creep up
sitting
there.
there. I found a 16 yesterday at the 5600 reset at Town Hall 16. And I was like, that's still kind of a little bit surprising that they're up there.
Yeah, we got Shane from House of Ella's rolling up on 9500, and he was starting to, I think, feel it a little bit right there.
Uh-huh.
Because he's hitting really solid against the other thing, but then it's getting into the base thing.
Uh-huh.
Would you would you make any other changes to Legend League?
Where is that? I mean, no. I mean, other than implementing hard mode and doing those couple fixes to make win trading a little bit harder, that's pretty much what I do with Legends.
You wouldn't add any other features, or
Not that I can kind of think of at the moment.
would you do that for CWL too?
CWL,
I
I
suppose you need
mean,
some place where you can test your raw strength, right? Like you kind of
mhm.
need one arena where,
So CWL, the only thing I would change about that is, again, I would implement hard mode, but probably only implement hard mode in champs because that's where all your pro
yeah,
players play and stuff like that. And like even C2J this week, we ended up matching like a top 10 CWL team. She's her name's Carrie, and she pays for people to play CWL with her. She's really big in the esports community. She has her own teams, but she's known for getting, top one or two on the leaderboards for CWL and Champs One. So it was like, as soon as we matched her, like,
I
it was
just
like,
started
okay,
sweating.
most likely they're going to miss either one hit or they're going to perfect us. And they perfect us without a problem.
That just makes me nervous.
Because Champs One is still, you're expected to, at bare minimum, at least get 40 stars if you want to stay there every match.
I suppose where do you think the player pool or the clan pool really drops off? Is it once you get to champs? I mean, I suppose you really got to be like a bracket type thing, right? I mean,
A little bit. So, like with Champs, uh, each division of Champs 1, 2, and 3 all have kind of their own breed of attackers, I would say. Even when we were base testing, we would be like, okay, Champs 3 for this base, Champs 2, Champs 1. Because every step of the bars, like Champs, you have the little bit better attackers. They're going to be doing a little bit different things. You kind of have to, when you're preparing a base for those type of people, you have to, especially as being like a high level player, or on the Champs One at least quality player, you have to kind of throttle yourself back and be like, how would a Champs 2 or Champs 3 player look at this base? Where are they going to attack?
yeah. How do you look at it different?
They have a little bit in.
What's the profile of a?
They might not use their hero abilities to, like, as far as like timing the best. They might not have invis placing for the RC walks perfectly. Because I'm sure you can watch some players and you'd be like,
no, you're describing me perfectly.
Like, okay, you're sitting there watching someone. How did they get their invis perfectly where the RC's walking in between like these three buildings? Where like most of the time you're like, either if I try to do that, I'm gonna either invis one of those or completely just she's gonna be outside the ring by just a little bit.
Do you go? These guys are really cocky at this level. They're gonna. Do you play on their egos? I'm not. I'm kind of joking, but
Not really. I mean, another like bigger difference is tends to be Champs 2 and Champs 3 players will use their Ward and Eternal Tome a lot earlier than a champ. They're more apt to be like, okay, I need to pop it now. Where, sometimes Champs 1 players, especially like when I was testing bases, 16, you could be like, okay, I'm all the way in, almost in the center of the base. I can wait a couple more seconds before I pop this. Get it in there just that much further.
you're basically providing me a roadmap to get better at my attacks.
Yeah, and I say the only difference between the lower level players and higher level players is just the thought process. Is a lot of it's just knowing your troops and how far you can push their limit.
So if you know somebody's gonna okay, they're probably gonna blow it early here, right? Like get into it. Do you design it a little bit different for that? So
A
like it's
little bit.
just
So
heavier.
yeah, so you want them to, make it look a little bit heavy, so that way they're wanting to pop their ability there. And then once they pop their ability, you're like, okay, the Eternal Tome lasts this long. Depending on if it's hard mode or Eternal Tome. I mean, I don't know like the exact seconds off the top of my head, but like you can estimate,
Right.
you kind of know about feel. And shoots that Eternal Tome maybe wears off for a couple seconds before you want to be anticipating like maybe have like a rage ring or something that's going to be slamming the troops as they're coming out of it.
Any other differences that you can think of? I'm riveted. Maybe just designed for preciseness. Like
Yeah, a lot of it, that's what it is you're playing against their weaknesses of not being as a precise use of their stuff. Like they might not get full value out of their Yeti. They might not be the best person to funnel, so you could kind of play on that weakness a little bit.
And if people
Uh,
are going to, oh, sorry, you can fit. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Another like easy one to do is, believe it or not, is the use of your spells is really big. Just precision of like when I should be using this, when shouldn't I? Like if you're in the Eternal Tome, you'll sometimes watch people and they'll free spell defenses. Whether in the Eternal Tome, like why are you doing that? Unless it's a single Inferno and it's on like your hero, you should be freezing during your Eternal Tome.
Right. Yeah. Wait. So, and this was on my, actually like my list, was to talk about the spells and like, uh, what do I need to get from it was the question on here, or what's like the benchmark. And so you're saying that most people like me are, because I feel like I'm doing this, is like I'm blowing my spells way too early. And I do better when I hold them. But do
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just push it to where you're like, I'm going for it? And like, at what point do you go, okay, shit, I better,
So
are
like
you
my
daring
rages and
them?
stuff. What was that?
Are you like daring the base most of the time? Do you like to push it to that point where you're like, I
Little bit.
have to?
I mean, a lot of it we kind of know a little bit when we should be using our spells. So like rage, you get a big clump of defenses or something, and you already use like your earthquake and spiky ball ability. Like probably want a rage to go through that, or there's a couple of Ricos next to the mono or something. Again, you want a rage or something to go through that. Maybe a free spell for the mono, especially when you don't have an option to use a skeleton spell because there might be a multi inferno that's in range. That's another constant mistake lower tier players make is I see it, they have good intentions. They put down a skeleton trap to, distract a Rico or some big heavy hitting defense, and they put it right in the range of a multi inferno, and that spell absolutely gets zero value.
Do you bring it all the time? Do you always have a skelly spell?
I normally do,
Do you?
unless I'm hitting in like comp, and I'd be like, okay, all these areas are covered with the skeleton spell. I can't really use it. I might bring in an extra invis or extra freeze at that point.
Well, what do
Or
you,
I could be like, I can kind of put it on the outside edges here, and it'll still distract it a little bit, but I might not get action on it. But just a couple hits less is better than nothing.
I guess for me, I'm wondering, and maybe this is just not even something people think about. Maybe this is just a personal problem. But when I'm looking at this stuff, like, or like, I'm weighing it down, right? So you tell me, or you say Skelly spell, and I've seen, I see the tax, and I haven't run one, or I've tried it a couple times. Probably did what you
Yeah.
said, but when I'm going to take something out, right? Like I look at my spells, and I feel like they're all kind of because I pretty much practiced one comp for a while, and I'm trying to switch it up more, and I'm actually kind of cycling through a little bit, but I look at that and I go, like with the RC, I'm looking at it going, well, if I add two more invis, what am I taking out?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, or I was switching between the overgrowth and the rage, and for an extra spell, and then I'm going, well, in either circumstance, like it just kind of is dependent on the time. So do I even need that? Should I add something else in? So do you run into this problem with other people, or is this just
I mean, we could kind of run into the
is
problem
this
a little bit
spelled
on the,
out?
as far as like the comp team a little bit is that there's the multiple versions of like the root rider. You're using overgrowth. People that don't. Me, I don't use overgrowth. It's not my cup of tea very much. I can use it if I need to, but if I can make an attack without it, I'm going to. I just need to funnel a little bit more stuff like that. Uh, yeah, a lot of that is just looking at your spells and being like, okay, I would like a couple more invis, like you said. So what do I take out? You kind of have to look. Okay, do I need this? If you have a skeleton spell, do I need that? If not, okay, I can take one from there. And being like, okay, it doesn't really have, since it has a multi infernos, it might not have very many. It might not have any at all single infernos, and the mono might be in the direct path of where you're planning to use your Eternal Tome, or maybe you're planning to get your RC to take out the mono on some bases. So you're like, okay, I don't really need two freezes, maybe, because I bring two freezes in mine. I can bring in another viz at that point.
I just always have spelled out. I think it's
Oh,
like, and then I go in and I kick myself. No, I should have brought that. But I
and
think
then,
maybe it's just more practice too. Like
yeah, I
with
understand a lot of that's just the more practice, you'll get better. And being like, when you get more value out of this, because you'll kind of, oh, I don't use the overgrowth, and that you'll kind of learn what your strengths and that are on your attack.
so if you okay, so let me say that. Let me ask you this theoretical question.
Mhm.
You've got your army, right? Your friend is going to attack with that same army.
Yep.
They're going to bring an overgrowth. What? Why are they bringing that? And what would you bring? So
So,
like, so if they're going to bring, they have the same comp. They're going to hit the same base, but they're going to bring an overgrowth. What
yep.
do you bring instead?
So I normally bring so actually I mean I have a scenario for this. So Vodka Soda, he plays on the same team as I
Scene.
for com.
It's night. Dark has descended.
And he likes to use overgrowth. So, he'll be asking like, oh, what should I do? Stuff like that. And his army's set up exactly the same as mine. We both use siege barracks. We both, use giant arrows for invis towers. I mean, the only difference is he's bringing overgrowth and I'm not. So
You're like
he runs,
twins. You're like
yeah, I would
twins.
say. So he runs one free spell, and I run two, and then he typically does not run the skeleton spell very often with his, because again, he's looking to get the overgrowth value. So he's, mitigating a lot of the damage. So sometimes, he'll get the mono or other things like that. And
And what is he bringing in?
so he only brings in the, like, no skeleton spell and then one less free spell than I do.
And who does your mother love better?
I mean, obviously me.
That's really interesting. I just hadn't thought about it like in that way. And I'm certain as I'm getting better at it to kind of figure out where, these two or how you switch it. Um, I do have to say I have felt like an idiot a couple times
You're good.
because well no, I mean in terms of on the pod in the last few well, I don't know, maybe over the last 6 months, um, I I found myself saying, "Well, Ghost Knight said this, but I kind of," and I realized in editing how stupid I sounded. So, just for all the listeners out there, um, I realized how dumb that sounded on there. Um, should we talk about Snake Bracelet?
I mean, I haven't played with it a bunch. I just did like the little scenario they had right before the event got released. I did that.
So
I haven't
snake
used
bracelets
it in.
coming.
I say, yeah, when the snake bracelet was coming for the event to be released, still, I used it in that like little challenge where you earn a couple of rewards and those little bit of gems.
Oh, I didn't do that.
I did that, but haven't used it in game at all because I've been just super busy doing my 2 accounts in Legends, Comp 4, and that. So I haven't had time to really test it very much in friendly games.
So you didn't get excited about it?
Not really. I mean, Phil and I and some of the other teammates, we all talked about it, and we were just like, spike ball, and that's still going to be the main thing. So we're not even going to bother with it too much. Like, a lot of us, we have the extra war right now, so we're just like, okay, just in case it comes relevant to the game. You never know what those very top tier pros will do. The big, like 5 teams or whatever. So then, yeah, we're just gonna upgrade it. We'll get it to hard cap, which is level 21. Hard cap. We'll upgrade it to that point, and then we'll forget about it. Go back to some of our other equipment that's not fully maxed out.
Part of me wondered if I shouldn't just get it to level 18 and keep it there, because it seems like the the abilities get nerfed back down to that level after about like 2 months.
Some of them do.
And then I would be used to it. So like I just got my electro boots up to 26, and I just got a little bit better at the invis on the RC. So I'm probably not going to even notice any difference, because my RC was wandering all over. Right. So the way I've improved, I might just cut out that difference with the newest.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see very much difference in your gameplay as far as that. Just because the fraction of the invis they did cut back a little bit. Pretty much enough, so maybe you'll take one shot from the defense every time.
Have you thought of any weird way it could be used? I mean, not weird like kinky or anything, but like,
I guess not really.
I do think the outside of the base with the vamp stash, like, or drop behind.
They would,
but you have to have it being hit by stuff.
What I have heard is pretty much the go-to is going to be, if you are going to use the snake bracelet, is putting it with the vamp stash, because the increased hit rate that you get from the bracelet, and then the effect of gaining health per hit. So they'll kind of go together. Like, maybe it might be a good scenario if you're planning on maybe your king just, like you were saying, on the outside of the base. Maybe on like a dragon attack, but again, dragon attacks, they're, a lot of people are dropping the king completely because they're running minion Brents.
I suppose that wouldn't work with the barbarian puppet.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people, like, where the really good kind of uses would be for like the dragon's attacks and stuff. The minion prince has made the king irrelevant, so he's not even used. I feel like it would have been a better ability when the equipment were first coming out. I feel like the timing of this equipment coming out to make it relevant is a little bit late.
So what do you think they would have to change? Well, I suppose we're kind of in the first stages.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a piece of equipment that you were excited for?
I mean, we were pretty obviously still excited for like when the first one came out, the gauntlet. That was really big and exciting because we're like, oh, he gets huge and he can do multiple damage to a bunch of different things, and this big old sweep. Yeah,
not the same old.
Yeah, not the same old. I mean, we were mediocre about a lot of things until you can't see it coming. Like fireball, we were like, okay, kind of niche. You lose your ward ability. We all didn't kind of see where the direction of it was going. Oh, you could do we're in charge with this.
You don't have any of them tattooed on your body then?
No, I have no
Like that
tattoos.
fireball, and then they nerf it, or they
Yeah, put a big old cross across it.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, they're all pretty much have their own unique niches. I mean, I've been a person, I've never used the vamp stash. I've always used, the other barbarian equipment that we've had because they work so well together. Other than that, I mean,
You might love it so much you're gonna grow your own.
I will say that the worst equipment out there still is the lava loon puppet. Like,
You hate
biggest waste of ore. Like, there was no point of.
Did you level it up?
I got to level 15, and then I was like, nope.
And you had buyer's remorse?
Yep. And then, like, I've pretty much maxed out equipment on everything else, and that's the one thing that's still
You refuse?
that's not to hard mode. Yeah.
Would you let it drop on the ground before you?
Oh yeah. If I could tell it to delete it out of my thing and give me some money back, I would.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
What do you hate about it?
They kind of, they play that small distraction. Other than that, they don't do much for you.
Do you feel like it's missing something? Like
the idea of the puppet's really great. They need to take it off the warden though and put it onto the.
Ooh.
And if you could put it on the minion prince, pop the lava loon puppet for his ability combo that you have, and then you could I'm gonna pop that right before I pop the warden to do eternal tone. Is gonna make that value a lot. Because then they're not going out there and just dying right away.
Couldn't you just pair them together?
Mm-hmm.
The warden and the minion?
Yeah, that's what I would do. Just pair their abilities together.
That's what you would do. But you're never going to touch that stupid piece of equipment ever.
Yeah, I was saying. But, I mean,
they'll have to do something, right? Like,
they switch it if it ever comes.
Because they have like a play rate, right? If they see it. I don't know. I feel like there was like troops that were supposed to be released with it or something that was supposed to, like, there should have been something like that, like one of the troops or something to put with it.
Yeah, something that would utilize it. Like their thought was, Lalo, for it to help Lalo. But it didn't help Lalo at all just because people are either running the Life Gem, Healing Tome, or the Eternal Tome.
What's your favorite piece of equipment?
Favorite? I mean, I still gotta say probably one you use majority on pretty much all attacks is still the Eternal Tome other than Fireball Plans. Like, that is the one OG equipment that has never changed.
Yeah, I keep thinking about switching it out, and I've been actually doing some FCs because I'm finally getting some of those like leveled up. I'm like to max catching up or whatever.
If you just think about it, like going back before, Town Hall 15, let's go back to those days, and you know what your abilities for your heroes are. Okay, now we go forward to 16 and 17. The only original ability that has been relevant at all still is pretty much the Eternal Tome. Yeah, the Queen Vial still has a little bit relevance, but a lot of people, you can kind of put those little bit better stuff on there. Like, you have the Healer Puppet and the Giant Arrow for Dragon Attack. So you get rid of your Vial.
Do you think that means they're going to come for the Tome?
I kind of don't think so.
Get your hands off my Tome.
I don't think they're gonna ever touch it.
Do you think there'd be an outrage? People in the streets tearing things up.
Yeah, I think
that would be a hard
bigger
one.
Deciding. Yeah, a lot of people would have a problem with that because it would make the game harder. Like like one thing I did from like my stream at Tunnel 16 for a unique challenge I did for people when hard mode came out to try to earn a gold pass. I would I had a base, and I'd be like, okay, attack it in hard mode, but have to use the original equipment. Like, there's no epic equipment, no of the newer stuff. Like, you had to use all OG stuff from like Town Hall 15 or before
I have to do.
abilities.
Well, I don't even have
And
mine leveled up, is what I was thinking.
yeah. Never say it didn't matter what level they were for that. And it was possible. It was extremely hard to do. And Fatal and I were talking about it the other day, and we think like in hard mode to use OG equipment, it'd be impossible.
Do you think it's worth that much, the new equipment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The new equipment is honestly what makes the game so easy. Because like,
So you don't think
there's still some people that riders are still broken. They need another nerf. As yeah, you can just spam them in and you get it. It's not the root riders that are getting the value anymore. The hero equipment that's getting the value.
Would you? So that's maybe why you're like really big on hard mode, or is
yeah, exactly.
Do you think in hard mode it still needs to be reduced? Like, is the equipment still too strong?
I think the biggest issue right now with hard mode and to do with heroes is just the just blatant abuse of the invis spell with the RC. Like, that's the biggest abuse there is. This
I'm only using 3. I'm only using 3. I promise.
This update is coming out. They're it's bringing back the earthquake boots and that. Those are all needed. I could see why they're doing that, because even in hard mode, you pop them and it's still do completely wipe out those defenses. Fireball's getting a nerf in hard mode, because at level 21, it is going to be 5 radius instead of the 6. So they're reducing the radius of the fireball in hard mode only. So if you have a max, if you have a max fireball now, you ain't going to be infected at all by that nerf. But it's one less defense.
I don't yet, but no, I just hadn't thought about that.
And then that's like something how they can, a good example on how they can tweak hard mode people and not affect the casuals as much, because casuals, you have the opportunity to use max equipment once you get it up that high. Hard mode, we're capped at 21, so if you mess with the level 21 settings, but not the fully max settings, then you kind of have that little bit of leeway there. Yeah, the biggest abuse of the equipment right now is the electric boots with the invis. Like, you see people take out half the base with those mass invises, and it's just like, then they're just throwing down dragons, and it's either going to be a time fail or it's triple.
So when I started seeing that, then I thought, okay, I maybe shouldn't practice this because something's got to happen, right? Like, and so I'm kind of doing an abbreviated one because I'm just afraid, like, to go down that path, and I know that there's the update coming, but do you think, I mean, it almost seems like it's gonna, I don't know if it's gonna be enough. Like you're saying, if with 10 invis spells, like, do you think that's gonna change it enough?
I don't think the invis is going to work too much. I think maybe another way they could look at it is make the fox easier to kill a little bit for the people that do use the fox with it, to extend the time. Because like right now in the building community, to try to help the RC charges and that, they're throwing big bombs in corner compartments and stuff where they think you're going to be RC charging. That way they can kill your fox. Because you already have it set in your mind that I have the fox. I need to be putting my invises down when the clock hits 6, and then say you're super focused on watching the clock and making sure you're getting that timing down. you don't notice your fox is dead,
Yeah.
then you could possibly get an RC kill through that.
I was thinking about that the other day. How can you mess up that clock a little bit? Just
Mhm.
a 2 second delay or something would be. Um,
The only other thing I could say is they need to maybe back off the invis just a little bit more. I mean, we'll see how it is after this balance, but I think they might need to just a little bit more, so that way you're guaranteed to take at least one hit from defenses every time.
Because like in that scenario, like that doesn't really change that much if you're using the Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, because it's like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
gonna
you're
get
suiciding your RC.
10. Well, even if you recalled, let's say you used 10 and then recalled, or like 6 and recalled, you're only with a quarter second, you'd only be getting a second and a half difference
Mm-hmm.
total without, if you don't have to rely on that Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe being bad at her, that's probably, it's going to help me out in the long run, I think, just as I switch the corner on it.
I don't know. Maybe even if another possibility, they could look at the radius of the invis spell, so that way you can't cover as much.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it so much, but but I do, when I see like, when I'm like watching like Shocks replays,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I could do that, like, if everybody could do that, like, it would probably,
Yeah, it'd
it's
be real boring.
powerful. It'd be super
In the right
powerful.
hands, it is broken.
Yeah. And that's the only thing. It's like, oh man, I like that toy. That's how I feel. Like,
Uh-huh.
how can you do it so I still, love it? But I said, like, with the electro boots, like, when they're at level 11, these are good enough for me right here.
Yeah,
Like,
I would say there's people out there using them at level 1 still and just wrecking,
yeah. So I'm not too, I'm,
because this that strat was always alive at 16, doing those RC dives. There's people doing them. The only difference is the boots made that part just so much stronger, because you couldn't trap them with the skeleton spells. Because it used to be like, okay, you could force the RC to pop the skeleton trap, and she's tied up. Like, she has to sit there and chew through them. And now that's not an option.
yeah. Hmm. When you're made me think now that, so when we talked before, you didn't have Town Hall 17, right? And so when you're looking at the bases, are you liking designing for 16 versus 17? And or when you do a base, do you do 16 bases?
No, I don't have a ton of 16s. 16s.
Oh, okay.
I just strictly do 17.
So do you think that when we're going back to in like House of L, or I hear about this too from others, that sometimes hitting the 16s can be hard because of the eagle again and kind of adjusting back to the town hall poison. Do you think that is missing from Town Hall 17? Or like, I mean, what's like for you as looking at the bases, like, is there stuff missing? Is it missing not having a separated?
I guess, like, I mean, 17 and 16 does have a completely different feel. Some people, like you said, do have that really hard time hitting 16s, because you gotta worry about the eagle and worry about the guaranteed poison and that inside the town hall. I think the biggest part where people are having struggles hitting those bases is they're in the mindset of 17. They're not thinking, okay, I need to be worried about this and this now.
Yeah.
So where 17 is back to the, okay, I'm more worried about the mono and stuff again, and the spitters.
I'm doing better when I look at it and go, this is more of almost similar, right? Like in power, just because it's separated. So like it's not easier, it's just different.
Yeah,
You know, like
exactly.
I'm
And
a 17 now, but hold on, give everything the respect it deserves. That eagle's not just
exactly.
nothing, in the
It's like
piece of
a fully
sliced beef.
a 5-star Town Hall 17 does a good amount of damage, but you're used to it now.
Yeah, and then you go to like CWL, we have problems because then I go, oh, and so I kind of worked it back in, but oh, I didn't have something to take out that town hall, or I didn't plan for that poison to run through them, and you're just not used to doing it anymore on a daily basis.
Exactly. Like, you know, Town Hall 17, you don't have to hit it in order to activate it, so it's as a defense, where you do have 16.
And your guys' wars are all 17s, right?
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
17.
Would you, if you were running like 16s and 17s in a war, would you switch up strategy to have them hit up if you're doing like a mixed war, or
Not really. I mean, so in C2J, during a normal war, we do mix some 16s in there. And we're just kind of, hit whatever you want type of thing. As long as you think you can triple it, go ahead, feel free. And then a lot of us that are more confident attackers will clean up at the end. So, like, normally I hold my attacks towards the end, do some cleanup wherever needed.
and then you just roll through the base,
Yep.
just roll through.
There's Me personally, I don't have the problem hitting 16s. Just I'm able
Just
to
adjust to
just
it.
adjust. Yeah.
Well, and I skipped through 16 pretty fast. I think I was 16 for like 3 weeks, like during the building boots, and then the update came out, so I was kind of getting used to all of it. But I was hitting 16s as a 15. Do you think those town halls are closer together in terms of, I guess, less big of a gap between town halls than there used to be? Like between a
Well,
14 and a 15 when they first came out, I mean.
yeah. All those gaps. That's also partly why I don't really have any interest in building other than 17. Is because, and you'll kind of see like other base building servers and that they don't very much build other than for top town because the meta becomes extremely easy after it's no longer the top hall. It's
They
no
had to
more.
guarantee anything, right?
Yeah, I was saying at that point you don't guarantee anything. Like I have my town hall 15. I can hit up 16s. I can hit some 17. Uh, again, it's skill wise of players, and they keep adjusting. Supercell's main goal is to get you towards that end game. So everyone, has that
Yeah.
picture of, oh, I want to be at the end. So they're decreasing time as they add things to the game, so they're not predicting that you're going to be there for long. So they're just like, yeah, just let them kind of triple, get their loot, and
Yeah.
get them out.
Do you think it's gonna promote shrinking those end time? Do you think it's gonna make a lot more players in the end? Or do you think it's gonna
Uh,
like, where do you think the state of esports? Okay, let me,
I
oh,
feel like it's not going to get any bigger.
no.
No, because especially like this next update, I don't know if you've seen any of them or seen the videos that got released of like the official release that they did of the few things of they have the double cannon and the geared up cannon. Well, they have the geared up cannon and the geared up archer tower.
I did not
Yeah,
see that.
yeah, so you get those from builder base eventually. Once you get your cannons and that, so up to a certain level, I believe it's level 6, and then you can gear up one of your archer towers and one cannon over in the main village. So now there's going to be a defense coming out that's already been confirmed that you're merging those two together, make another defense. Now they're putting limits on things, kind of like they did 16. Your archer towers have to be a certain percent together.
Yeah.
And now they're
So
adding builder hall restrictions, like you need to play the builder hall to this certain extent in order to get your merged
Sneaky bastard.
cannons, so you can have this
Yeah.
defense before, we're at 17. So until you have to have that before you can go to 18.
So is this like Archer Tower, multi-Archer Tower geared up? Is that what I'm getting?
It's it kind of
Like a big, like super multi-Archer Tower?
a little bit. So this defense will be air and ground attacking in both forms because it's going to have a change form that you can pick one or the other to run. One is a 12 tile radius, big archer tower arrow, and it shoots at like 320 DPS. So it does a decent amount of damage, but it shoots a little bit slower.
Okay.
And then they have a cannon, kind of looks like a Gatling gun almost
Ooh.
ish thing, and it shoots like burst fire, and that does a lot more damage for the whole burst together, but it has a smaller radius of 8 tiles, I believe it was. But even if it's in the cannon mode, it will still target air troops as well.
Do those scare you?
Not really. I'm kind of been just kind of thinking of, okay, how am I going to implement these into bases? What are my ideas here?
What's your master plan?
Yeah, exactly. What's the master? How am I going to get value out of this, or I do?
Well, so it'll kind of even out the try kind of thing, right? Or I mean, like because there's kind of that off Archer Tower, right? Like, so I could see this being pretty effective. It kind of maybe even to balance out those spitters. I don't know how far that distance is, but
So the 12 tile radius for the like the bow version of it is the same radius as the tower
oh,
currently is right now. So it's pretty wide. So, thinking automatically like, okay, they're both 12 tiles. The town hall made it so you cannot flame flinger it at town hall 17 because of the tiling. So this is going to be an anti-flinger defense because it's going to attack the flinger before it's kind of like the ground expos.
Wow, I missed this news.
And then, like a small idea I have for the first fire version of it is this might be something that if you have like center town hall with the invis and the rage, it might be one of those defenses you want to put in that center because it does a ton of damage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you seen any like wizard towers? Do they make sense in a core?
In a core, no, not really. Kind of look at bases or towards the outside.
Yeah, that's what mine are too. But
they're necessarily, you kind of look at it. Oh, they're kind of giving me an archer tower for free. Why is that? Like it's outside the walls. Because the wizard towers they're a high hit point defense building, so it makes you chew on them for a little bit. Why the other stuff is.
I only ask, it just popped in my head as you're saying that because on the screen on Town Hall 17, where it says like the upgrading for the Town Hall, I think it's right there. Or, for the weapon, it had like wizard towers by it. And I thought, so they had the wizard towers around the Town Hall. I thought it was at the time. And I thought, I wonder if they're trying to say like use wizard towers by your Town Hall.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen anyone.
Well, what do they know?
But RSA.
I thought maybe they had something there that I was.
I at least don't know of any Supercell people that build bases at least successfully. top builder in the world right now is, I would say, hands down, General X still.
Have you taken any classes or like have you had conversations with some of like the some of the base builders that you look up to?
So I looked into coaching or receiving coaching for base building. It was pretty much, I want to wait till this update comes out so that way the new meta starts, and that way what I'm learning is not irrelevant after the update comes
Yeah.
out, because this new defense is going to change meta.
I guess I mean to ask, because this was on my list too, is like who is a base builder that you look up to that you're like, oh, that guy's just
I mean, like I said, hands down, best base builder is General X. Like, he is massively impressive. I mean, his bases speak for themselves. I mean, if you get a chance to watch like the main Synchronic team perform and do their wars in like Legendary League, I was watching that past weekend. I mean, they hold really good teams like Boom Academy, stuff like that, to like 12, 13 stars. Like those defenses is what gets them sometimes the win.
and so you're watching that war and you're like this like kind of probably how we feel about like,
Yeah.
our favorite and you're looking at that and he gets done with an attack and you've seen this base. What do you like? What makes you stand in awe? Like, well, he thought of this. You know what I
A lot
mean?
of it is, sometimes one, I guess, difference also that Fatal has taught me as well. You can design a really, really good base, but if it's not trapped properly for what you're trying to defend, yeah, it ain't gonna perform. So trapping is super crucial, like where they're putting their traps to defend what they want, and just predicting where people are going to be putting their stuff.
If you were me, right? Kind of a rush,
Sure.
Town Hall 17. Not really anymore. I'm getting really
Yeah.
getting close. Let's say you're going to a new town hall. Would you prioritize traps?
See, me, even as a 17, I don't prioritize the traps, because no matter what, the traps are beneficial, but you still need the DPS behind them because the traps can't kill everything.
My traps can. I'm just kidding.
You know, the traps help the defenses to get that little bit more value that they can get by slowing up things or killing off what the traps can, in order to allow the defenses to target the things that are needed to be targeted.
Okay, let me turn up the heat on this question then. Dial it in. Not really. If you're a new town hall, you're going to prioritize traps. Which traps do you prioritize first?
Um,
Do you go,
so with this meta, I mean, big bombs are like, or
damn
the
it,
giant bombs. I would prioritize those.
damn it.
If you're worried about the dragons attacks, the seeking air mines, I mean, those are good for the dragons and blimp. Then from there, I'd probably go your red bomb farm,
Oh,
or it's a toss up between the red bomb farm and then the spring traps. Probably get those maxed out.
I think I did those
Is
already.
spring traps idea that
I
I
got
made
one
a
right.
base. I made a base that, okay, it has open compartments on the outside. I want the root riders to pass through, but I have some like trash and stuff that are made to path the Valkyries where I want them to go. I'm putting spring traps in between because spring traps can spring the Valkyries. Because if you can separate the Valkyries from the riders in that attack, you are going to defend, because the Valkyries is all your DPS for your root riders. So that's why like funneling's a huge thing for that attack. Because if they separate, you're gonna miss.
As a base builder, what's your biggest tool against this? The spring trap in
Spring trap, for like the Valkyries, you got to be careful because if a rider runs over that spring trap, then from there it will, activate the spring trap, and you ain't gonna get any value because they can't spring up the. Sorry, my cat's been attacking me because I'm waving my
I
hand.
thought he was just like coming over to be nice, and then that one I was like, oh,
No, Smokey's a savage.
mm.
But anyway, so I have a base where it's coming to corners, and the two corners that meet both have a wall missing. But the defenses are a little bit before, so the Root Riders will pass from defense to defense. But the Valkyries are going to pass through the one opening and then go through the next opening to get into that compartment because the Root Riders might not be fast. So I put at the two openings right where they go, put spring traps there, so it's springing the Valkyries.
So you're really basically playing psychological warfare.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, because you're going, here's where they're probably going to drop this. This is what I would.
You need to be 10 steps ahead of the attack.
Okay.
And predicting where the troops are going to go, what you need to do, how they're going to react.
And is that mostly on the outside of the base or on the inside of the base?
So for that base, it was on the outside, but you can put them on the inside of the base.
But I mean, like the trap battle. So, like, if you're thinking about, right, like, where is that trap battle then for you? Like, are you winning on the outside or are you winning on the inside?
There's no really battle on the inside or the outside. As depending on where your traps are, or you need to be putting your traps different places, depending on what you're trying to do. So like I mentioned, you're trying to take the giant bombs to kill the fox off. Like those need to be towards the outside because you want to kill the fox on the outside of the base. But the spring traps could be either inside or outside, a little bit depending on just pathing for Valkyries and that. Or, seeking air mines. You don't want those on the outside of the base, really, because you need to stop blimp, so you might put one or two towards a little bit on the edge of the outside of the base, but you want those in the core of the base because when people are putting their drag spam attacks in, they're eternal toeming on the outside of the base going into the base. So by the time the eternal toem's wearing off, that's when you want your seeking air mines to be hitting them. Because if they're hitting them while they're in the etome, they're not doing anything. It's like they didn't exist.
So it's all the pieces.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fine-oiled machine that everything needs to fall in place in order to make the end result.
And when you're doing your 15, are you like, are those principles working pretty well still at like a 15?
So I don't build any bases for my 15. I just pull random because I don't really care too much about defense at 15.
Okay, I thought maybe you were
I sit in Titans one on my 15.
Okay.
And I just do my attacks and call it a day and do more stuff like that.
So you live in the 17 world, basically.
Yeah. As far as like building,
you're swimming in the TH17 pond.
Yeah, because again, I don't feel like it's necessary to build for any of the lowers because the meta is way too easy.
So if you were like 1 year ago, right? Your like mindset of like where the game is, do you feel like you're optimistic or happier this year, or less happy? Or
a year ago, I was excited to see where it was going to go because of the introduction of hero equipment. Did I necessarily think the hero equipment was good for the game? No, because Again, it was just something that's way too powerful that they're adding. I think there needed to be more fine tuning to kind of make a little bit more even. As far as like what I like out of a strategy game is, to me, I think of a strategy game. I've seen this debate on Twitter that, Clash of Clans should be hard. It is listed as a strategy game.
Do you think? Yeah, and so like when 17 hit, right, and the wars seem to, at least for our wars, I mean, you're kind of in a different world, but it wasn't overblowing anymore.
Hmm.
Like it started to I think we were talking the other day, it seemed like that last 10% or that last 25% became a little bit more difficult, right? More time fails for me and maybe, more the casual player. Um do you feel like you're happier in the wars? Like do you feel like you're happier this year in terms of like
Yeah, I mean, where the meta's at currently and where bases are right now, it is a lot better feeling because this time last year, I mean, it was a race. Who could triple the base faster?
yeah,
There was people that was putting down, less than 90-second triple. I think the fastest attack at 16 altogether was like 57 seconds or 56 seconds. So
56,
less
that
than
was
a minute.
mine. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. No. So you feel like it's more balanced probably then.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit more balanced. Uh, I mean, obviously, any game, no matter what the state of the game's at, it can always be better. Like I said, Legends, stuff like that. It can constantly be tweaked. It's its own living ecosystem.
And if we're like inside, we're the new like town hall committee and the people outside are complaining, right? There's a crowd outside yelling
Mhm.
compared to last year as being the crowd was rah 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 rah, right? About where do you think it is this year? Like did everybody go home or can you hear softly in the
I think there still is people out there, that's making the arguments, stuff like that. I think the biggest thing right now is there ain't an argument too much about like the base game of being too easy or anything because the pros have our hard mode, casuals have the base game. The only part that I'm hearing constantly right now is the legend. That's where people are making the cries now. It's not, oh, let's nerf fighters or that because the whole game's too easy. It's let's fix legends, make that a little bit better, make that what it is, what it should be.
so number one is fair. Like number one feels fair.
Mhm.
Like get in there, you feel like everybody's got a
Yeah,
shot.
everyone has a chance, and right now it's difficult too
Hmm.
because you have the people that are paying people to throw on their bases.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's definitely no secret. There are people out there that pay people that sit in high legends to sit in their clans and for the season, and you get paid to do that.
What a job.
Yeah, like we have
What?
we know a
Sit
person.
here and be pretty?
I won't drop any names or anything, but there's a person. He has a signed thing of okay, I will come to your clan. I will play. I'll play CWL. Pretty much act like you're a member as long as you're paying me money. And he's getting paid $340 a
Wow.
month to sit in this guy's clan because he sits in Legends. He does his warheads, stuff like that still. So he's still getting all of his other stuff. And the guy's like, oh, you have a comp war or anything, you can leave. Just make sure you come back. So you're representing us.
And so
And
it's incentive for them. to be at the very, very, very top, besides more than
Yeah,
prestige.
yeah. Yeah, the more trophies it is, the more you get paid.
That's crazy.
And then it also has a incentive that a lot of people kind of off forget about. You look at a lot of these like high level pros, you're like, how did they get max so fast? Where do they come up with all this money and stuff? Well, a lot of those high level pros sit in those high legends. So people pay these people to come into their clans for the high legends so they can be number one on the leaderboard clans across the globe. Top 3 clans across the globe get gems for being top 3 at the end of the season. Top
That's right. It's
15,
not sitting on
yep.
the top
And
there.
I believe it's the top 15 people split those gems in those groups.
So yeah. Do you think if you tiered it like Legends, like this season of Legends, you started off in like Crystal, and maybe I'm not really, because as you were saying that, I don't know, it kind of popped into my head like, could you advance through the different Legend clusters? I don't know if that would even benefit it or not, but I don't know why that popped in my head when you were saying that, but it's like
Mm.
not as a clan, but as a single.
It's kind of almost like what they already do because you still have your own. So you have like your global leaderboard, pretty much everyone follows. But you still, if like you go into the game, you still have like that little subcategory of like list of leaderboard because they kind
Okay.
of group you together.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're gonna hit anyone in that group.
Right. For me, my Legends Day has been time fail. And I noticed I've been hesitating. There's a gap between my RC drop and because she's wild and unpredictable for me. Like, I'm getting better tight on her. But when I send her in, she's going to go, I just need this first off. Where she goes from
Mm-hmm.
that, then I'll adjust. Like, I don't have that like level of plan where I go, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a plan. I go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to drive through here. I want to get this for the funnel and this. But I'm just so used to shit going wrong that I just do better if I have like the main thing and then I adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of how you, or do you look at it and go, okay, boom, and then I'm gonna wait till about 120 left, and then I'm gonna drop this in on this side.
I mean, normally I don't have things super timed out. Wind hogs, you can time those a little bit differently. That attack, that you'll be like, okay, a minute and a half left. I need to get my hogs in, because if not, I'm going to time fail. But
But does your attack always go as planned?
I mean, no, it doesn't always go as planned. And that's just where you kind of get used to it not being going to plan, and you just have to have that faster thinking process of being
Okay.
like, okay, my RC walked this way. Did I get enough value, or you know, say you put her into the middle of the base on the left. Put her in the middle of the base on the left, and you wanted her to walk down to the corner so you could put your like root riders right side, the bottom right, and your queen, and that's going to go up at 3 o'clock to funnel that corner to make sure they don't that way. So okay, instead of the RC going down that way to get that corner in the middle, she walks up and gets that. I still want to come on the backside of the base because that's the best entry point. So I might bring the queen and siege barracks down just a little bit, help with the funnel, so that my stuff doesn't walk still. But instead of bringing the root riders from the center of the base, I'm going to be bringing them into that corner, trying to walk them into that middle compartment, and then turn them up.
Yeah, so you're adjusting. You're not like
It's just fast adjusting.
okay. That's helpful to know. I mean, because sometimes like looking at like YouTube or like looking at some of these attacks, and maybe this is like the old days too of like sketch planning out things, kind of legacy stuff. But like, I always wonder, is it wrong that I'm not wrong, but like, I guess I just assumed that that I maybe just I don't have as good a handle on certain things because I'm doing it that way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so I feel a little bit better about myself is what
I
I'm
would
trying
say
to
yeah.
say.
It's just
You're really building
getting
up my
used to that.
self-confidence.
It's getting used to that. A lot of it is just adapt.
Roll with the wind, right?
Got to roll with the punches.
Well, should we do some shout outs?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, shout out you again for bringing me back. I mean, it's always a fun time.
Yeah, this is kind of a mind altering is usually what, like the last one, it was like, it took me about a month to recover from the shock of it, to be honest. And thank you for being here.
You're welcome. No problem. It's always a fun time. Like I told you, excited to be on. I like doing podcasts. I mean, obviously, other than that, again, got to shout out the home clan, C2J, and the FTB org. Play with them a lot. Both teams are doing pretty decent. So, and then, I mean, other than that, I mean, a little small shout out for, I was putting up with my shenanigans, everything else, dealing with me, all my questions.
So people want a base from you,
Yeah.
they?
I mean, you can get me here on Discord. Let me get my actual thing for you here.
I'll put it up too on the.
Yeah. I would say, I can send it to you. Or, yeah, you can just grab it. I mean, it's just Ghostnite 2121. I mean, you can find me on Discord, DM me. And if you just want to first initial message, just be like, hey, I'm interested in buying a base. Do you have any packs available? Because I do limit my packs to 5 customers. And it's 5 customers, first come, first serve, pretty much. And typically, in my normal packs, I offer base insurance. So if the base doesn't work out, as long as it's still within the same meta and everything, I will insure the base, either tweak it, replace it, depending on how it is. You gotta be able to show me that you use the correct CC that I told you to use. And I mean, other than that, I mean, right now, my packs, I'm asking you get 5 bases. You're guaranteed at least 5 bases for $5. Sometimes I'll throw in a bonus base.
And this is for CWL,
EWL, and
ESL.
ESL, and then sometimes I will throw in like 1 or 2. So the pack of 5 is honestly mixed between the 3 categories.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to ask before like what bases are for, feel free to. Any of the ESL bases should be able to be ran in CWL. So with a little bit of like limitations. But
what it'll be like once the update drops for you, Cass?
a little bit. I mean, I've been holding off releasing this month's pack until I knew about this. So I got a lot of building I need to do. So, I mean, it'll be a little bit of work.
Is it fun though? You think? You think it's gonna be fun to like change it up?
I mean, yeah, I think it'll be fun to change it up. See what other ideas. I mean, I got a couple, like I said, a couple ideas in my head running around, testing them, see how they work. Really, it's all fun until the testing comes and then things don't work, and then you just get frustrated.
Oh, yeah. Did you have
Because,
fun
like, what do I do?
when 17 dropped? Did you have fun like right after? Or was that like?
Yeah, I mean, figuring out how to make spitters work, how to make the adjustment of the bomb work, them taking it out of the town hall.
As a base builder, how many times a year do you need a change like that to keep it fresh for you? Or is it too much?
I mean, not really that they have to keep it fresh, because sometimes it is nice where you're so used to it, like you're okay, I can kind of like pump a base out like this, see if it works. Where once you start adding new things, it's like, okay, I got to start thinking in a new way to implement these. It's not the same formula every single time down.
That's cool. Well, thanks again for being here. This has been awesome. This is where I when you hear me go quiet, it's me going, okay, my brain is clicking over into like 1,000. And I'm excited because I get to listen back to this while I'm editing. So get a hold of us. Shout outs, House of L. We just are working through our CWL as of this recording. Sounds like we just missed a really close war by 2 stars. But we have been working really great, working really well together and just kicking butt and staying in, fighting for the lead all CWL. So I will have more of an update of where everything lands. But big shout out to everybody because it's a good showing no matter what. We're having fun. So get a hold of us, clashofclanspodcast@gmail.com or clashofclanspodcast.com. You can find all the information there. And I think that's where I'm going to be putting these player cards too eventually. Is one house. I'll fill everybody in on that too. So till next time, keep it clashy, everybody.
Keep it classy.
Skilly beep boop, skilly